Hey brother, happy Monday. How you doing?
I'm doing so good today. How are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty buggered, but good. Good for good for seeing you, good for chatting. What's been
Why are you
going
buggered?
on?
What's going on?
I'm just tired, man. I think I had a pretty big week of training and moving the last few weeks and just body's weary. Stoked to
Yeah.
have a bit of a deload week. And yeah, I think I had a beer yesterday. So not just one. I have a couple of beers yesterday. So I
Oh,
might
a couple.
be
Okay.
having not had an alcoholic beverage for a few weeks. It just puts you on the back foot just a little bit because I'm so used to being elite and optimal.
Mm. Can you actually feel the difference?
Oh, bro, 100%. Like,
Yeah, right.
like significantly. It's not
Off
like
two
I'm like,
beers.
nah.
How many
Okay,
beers did you have?
I had two glasses of wine, a jug of beer, and a stubby. So more than like
Okay, that's like
not
6 or 8
exorbitant.
standards.
Yeah, like it's not an exorbitant amount, but
Sure.
considering my
I'd be
usual
shit
amount
faced off
is
that.
donuts. Um, yeah, it was definitely, it's just like you just don't feel 100%. I could probably feel about 90 or 85, which most
That's
people would
a
take.
yeah,
But like when you're used to being 100%,
true.
noticeable.
I'd be hammered off that. By the way, were you getting on, or were you all right? Were you lit up?
No, no, no. I think, oh, that was spaced over a few hours, bro. Like it wasn't
Still.
just, I wasn't doing these ones.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. True.
um,
Well, you look good.
Thanks, bro. Thanks. I need it. Give me some more affirmation. It's one of my love languages.
Um, I'm really liking the short hair, the beard and short hair. Really nice. And this is like a little semi plug to the YouTube.
The
We're on
the
you,
visuals, the
you
visuals.
out there listening can also view what I'm viewing right now.
Lucky everyone.
And every now and then you'll see my dog Chesley's head pop up in the bottom right corner
That's true.
here as
If
he
Luke
comes to
ever
get some
goes on
pats.
mute, it's because the dog's barking, basically.
You'll hear
If
two barks and you'll see me
yeah,
frantically going for the keyboard to mute.
just
I think we should be all
immediately.
right tonight. Oh, this afternoon. It's usually maybe it's the postie or something. I'm actually not sure, but it's the same time every time when we record. It's like 40 minutes in or something. The postie must go by and he just
Yeah.
loses his shit. So we should be sweet now, provided we don't go all the way to school pickup because I live like right next, or not right next to a school, but people park on my street and out the front of my
Yeah.
house to pick up their kids from the primary school around the corner,
Yeah.
which sends him like, so at 3:15, if we're still on in 3 hours or 2.5 hours.
We're still on 3 hours. I'm in trouble, eh? I've been missing some meetings for work, but it would mean it's a good chat, that's for sure.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So buckle up,
Wow. What about you, bro? You were, I think you said this morning you were firing. You're feeling really good.
dude. You don't know what you got until it's gone. And COVID just like really made me realize how much I value feeling good.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good now for a little while there for yeah, a solid. Well, it's coming up on 3 weeks on Wednesday. So I'm like day 18, I reckon,
Yeah.
since contracting COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm feeling pretty good. Probably like 96%.
96, not 95. That extra percent gets you over the
Yeah.
line.
Because I said 95. I said 95 on Saturday, and I reckon I'm slowly getting back.
Okay.
Yeah. So a couple of percent a day, a couple of percent every,
Few days.
few
Yeah.
days or something. 0.5% a day. No, I'm
Yeah.
feeling good,
Nice.
man. I'm fired up actually. I'm ready to go.
Yeah. What's lit the fire? Just not having something, or
Yeah, like a mix of feeling better and feeling like I can get back into some intensity and some volume with my training and just everything that's going on, to be honest. Like without, I mean, I don't want to brag, but I've got some good stuff happening.
yeah.
I'm
No,
like,
that's what they were for. Tell me what's going
yeah,
on.
I'm
Talk to
stoked.
us.
I'm stoked with this. Like this, the poddy's going really well, and we're talking to some cool people, and we're getting amazing feedback. And I was actually going to send you a text yesterday, man. I'm stoked to have met you when I met you. The timing wasn't that important, but just having you around the place has been good, man. So I appreciate it. I was going to send you a text, but I figure I may as well just put it out there in the public space. Yeah,
Appreciate
it's
it,
been really
bro.
good, man. So you're a big part of that. Plus, where we're at with the gym and training and footy stuff and the strength and conditioning program, and
Yeah.
generally, honestly, just kind of where I'm at mentally as well. Like the kind of man I'm turning into, I suppose. I know that's like a weird phrase, but yeah, happy, happy, happy.
Sweet,
What about
dude.
you? You feeling good?
Well, apart from being just like generally under the weather, yeah, I feel pretty good. I'm itching to get back to Perth. I think Perth, the Lord Senator McGowan that reigns supreme over People's Republic of WA has allowed the rest of the world in from the 3rd of March, I think it is, which would be really good. I'm going back for quite a long trip. So it'd be good to see the team, see the fam. We've got a few weddings over there, got a few birthdays. It's going to be a big time of year. But also just that I think that Zoe can come over for weekends. I think we'll spend Easter there. Has been really, really just positive to know.
Nice.
And I think it's just going to be a really good time. I think that's in the front of my mind to have that to kind of look forward to. Got the week to myself this week, actually. Got the house to myself. So a bit of solo time. I'm going to hopefully get out and swing the sticks. Managed to get out last week and swing the clubs. Training's going well. I've actually just some feedback from the coach or like some self-reflection on some things. I just know that I'm not recovering sufficiently. My body should be able to withstand what I'm throwing at it. All things being considered, it's not exactly an excessive amount. As an example, for those that don't follow me on Strava, which would be every single person that's listening, because I've got like 0 followers, but that's fine. I am running 3 to 4 times a week and training in the gym 3 times a week. So like 7 days consistent, but not beating it. It's not like the body is feeling depleted. It's just like, just don't have the energy. So back to tracking the food, seeing kind of what sort of fuel I'm putting in my body to ensure that I can recover. And as I'm sure you and me both know, as soon as you start tracking, it's like, oh, maybe I should eat more. Or maybe I should oh, look, there's so much shit in this food that I'm not eating, that I am eating that I shouldn't be, or whatever it is. So I say that as I look around and stare at my bowl of fruit that needs to be eaten and that sort of stuff. But I was very conscious going into this sort of training plan that I wanted to eat a lot, not less carbs, but more natural carbs. I had done some research on less processed carbs, even less grains. So more fruit, literally fruit, veg, meat. I wanted to make up the crux of my diet, but to eat that at 3,000 calories is just a ridiculous amount of food. So it's just being mindful of that. And I think I've known that, I'm probably under eating. So now it's a case of cool track this week all the way through, get an understanding of what it is that the body's consuming. Because I reckon it's like maybe 2,200 calories. Like I just don't think I'm eating a sufficient volume of food. So we'll see how we go with that. But that piques my interest as well. And just like I'm already going through the motions of like, I really don't want to run today. Then you run and you feel better. And I pushed back one day from Saturday to Sunday, and then I log in on Sunday and I see I've got a Sunday run. So I'm like, no. So I had to, I should have done 2 runs yesterday, but I'll actually go for a run this afternoon, which is just a like 120 beats per minute, real slow zone 2 running for an hour. So it doesn't beat up the joints too much, focusing on that cadence still, which I'm pretty much at without having to listen to a metronome. I don't know if anyone's ever done that for their running that's listening in, or if you've done it, Luke, but
no, I haven't.
It's literally just like tick, 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 tick in your ears as you're running. And that's like,
surely you can get like
cadence.
I reckon if you go on Spotify and you go like 100, what cadence is it? 170. Oh, you can.
It's 170, but like I'm not a huge fan of that music, so I'll listen to country music with this tick tick in the background. That's
so you listen to both?
Yeah, I'll put music over it because I kind of can, and I just like to switch off. And I would have put a podcast, but that's like, you've really got to consciously listen to the words, I feel, in a podcast, especially when I listen to them at probably a little bit too fast, 1.5 speed. I consume at a rate of knots, but having the tick in the background doesn't really work. So I think just getting my nutrition up this week will be really good. Playing some golf will be good. Might go see a movie, little solo Tom date, which would be good as well.
What's on? Anything that's piquing the interest?
Well, those that know me know I love it. I'm in love with Tom Holland and Zendaya's little relationship and romance. I don't know what it is about them, but I watched the Spider-Man, the movies they're in recently, and I'm just like, oh, they're good together. And then for some reason on YouTube, they targeted me with their YouTubing, and I started watching. I'm watching this relationship flourish, which is great because they're young individuals who are in the prime of their life. Anyway, so big Tom Holland fan. He's got a movie out called Uncharted, which is based on a video game. And I don't think I've seen too many video game movies but it's got Mark Wahlberg in it, so I might go see that because that's probably more my jam than it is me and the missus. So, but yeah,
good plan. Nice.
yeah.
Plants and animals is hard to stick to, I find. Just kind of coming back to nutrition. If you don't mind me ripping you away from Tom Holland and Zendaya for 1 minute.
Sorry, mate, I just got distracted. I'm just off in my head there for a second.
You probably downloaded TikTok and you're like, I don't even know how TikTok works, but I'm assuming you just dopamine galore.
That would require social media, and we know how I feel about that.
No social media, but you have TikTok.
But I have TikTok, but
that's on the homepage.
And it's just Tom Holland and Zendaya. That's it.
Yeah. And Tay Goodies on there as well. Don't forget.
Of course, yeah. Get the shout outs for sure.
Yeah, shout outs. Nutrition, plants and animals. It sounds like that's kind of what you're going down, like no processed carbs or limiting them as much as possible. And yeah, man, you can eat a lot of food if you really stick to those whole foods. If you're loading up your plate with lots and lots of veg and stuff, it's like you look at the calories of a full plate of veg with all the phytochemicals and stuff, like different colors of the rainbow. And then you have some meat in the middle of that. It's like, this is not many calories compared to, if you go to KFC or even if you have like other processed carbs, like if you get some like rigatoni on there or some pasta or something like that, it's like just jacks it up. The carb to protein ratio to fat ratio is just like completely different.
Yeah. I do like my rice. So I'll have chicken and rice every so often.
Big rice.
Purely from usually on days when I'm running, just because I know I need that little bit of extra bump. But like, yeah, it's not impossible, but like I should be eating currently if I want to hit those sort of calories and above.
Have you eaten yet?
Fruit, veggie. What have I had? Literally. So nutrition to this point has been underwhelming. I'm loving mandarins at the moment. So I've had a mandarin. I had 3 eggs scrambled. I've had a protein shake, which I don't rate at all. I got this disgusting. I used to really love No Whey protein from ATP Science. I'm looking at it right now. I'm just giving it daggers. And I loved it. Yeah, I detest it. Their vanilla is great, but I thought I was getting vanilla, but it's like vanilla latte. It's just oh, it's horrid. So I'm trying to just like get through that, pinch the nose. I think I had a nectarine as well. So currently nearly 1 o'clock and I've definitely undereaten.
What did you have with the scrambled eggs? Just eggs?
Yeah.
No, anything else?
Salt and pepper.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. It doesn't seem like, I love food, but I would definitely have some kind of like sourdough, some kind of carbohydrates.
I used to do that, like a big bread, like, 2 slices of bread, really nice bread, happy with sourdough. But then part of me, like, I'm not going to lie, I think I mentioned this to you before in the gym the other week, or last week maybe. And my goal is double body weight squat, 1.5 body weight bench, 2.5 body weight deadlift. And if I manage to just lose a few kilos, I feel like they're more achievable numbers. So there's been a conscious effort to potentially just maybe, what if I'm running more, like training more, eat the same amount, maybe slightly less, see what sort of kilos. I don't even know what I weigh at the moment, but I might do the sneaky. I think it was you that mentioned just walk into Harvey Norman, go, do these scales work? Stand on them and check out what you're on, and then just get up and leave.
Buy some.
Yeah, don't buy them. Just do that once a week.
That's right.
So there might be some sort of like little underlying that I forgot to mention that'd be nice to maybe drop from 80 down to 75. It also helps with the running. Don't have to move the extra 5 kilos, but we'll see how we go.
You don't want to get stronger? You just want to reduce your body weight?
I'd be the same amount of relatively strong, relatively the same strength, whatever that is, because it'd still be 2.5, 2 and 1.5. However, I'm finding that strict press just seems to be getting heavier. These shoulders aren't getting any stronger at the moment.
They're getting narrower somehow. The skeleton's shrinking just from the top down.
That's it. No. I've actually got the fisheye lens on, so it makes me look smaller.
True. No, it's the other way, isn't it? You got the wide angle.
The wide, yeah. Don't know.
No, the fish eye would make you look mega wide.
Swollen. Maybe if I...
Would you be able to lose 5 kilos and maintain strength, do you think? 5 kilos is a fair percentage of your body weight. What's that like?
Maintain. I feel like it. Like, I feel like with consistently, you're going to lose a little bit of strength because you're in a deficit, right? Like your body would naturally be in a deficit. So you'd possibly lose some strength. You need to be in a surplus to gain strength. So the goal is kind of maintain strength, but drop body weight. So therefore,
if you're well trained, just like put like a little asterisk next to that. If you're in a deficit and you're highly trained, it's likely you won't increase strength. But if you're
Yeah,
untrained,
for sure. Yeah. If you're untrained,
if
you
you're
can increase
untrained in a
strength by
deficit, you can
just
build some strength, build some
moving
muscle.
the bar.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
Agree.
So there's possibility that you could lose whatever percentage of your body weight that is, 7% or something, and either maintain or at least go into like survival mode and try and just maintain as much of your strength as possible. If not even, actually, what I found when I
What if I just lose fat though, and then it's just all lean muscle mass?
Exactly.
And I drop from 4% body fat to 2% body fat.
yeah.
Definitely not 4% body fat.
I found that when I first started, when I was younger, when I actually cared about how I looked in terms of like percentage body fat, like lean mass to fat mass, fat free mass, that kind of stuff. When I started cutting, I actually increased my strength. And I think it was because I actually started tracking my food.
You probably
so the quality of the food overall was much better. The percentage splits of all the food were much better or much more optimal for me. So I decreased body fat, increased strength. And I'd been training for like a few years at this point. So I think everyone, like people often overcomplicate it. And, you know, it's like, if you're in a deficit, you just try and maintain as much as you can, but it's likely you'll lose a lot or lose a little bit. And if you're in a surplus, it's like, that's game town and you only can get stronger, when really, like, if you're not training adequately, you can just put on fat. You might not actually stimulate muscle growth.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's so much nuance to that. But just, eat what I was about to say, eat what feels good. Don't do that.
Really?
Then
Thanks, coach.
Krispy Kremes and I don't know, all the Snickers bars and stuff.
No, I eat pretty well. Like, you know, my dirtiest meal will be pasta. Yeah. Like my dirtiest meal. And that's like pasta with capsicum. What do we have last night? Italian sausage, cherry tomatoes, garlic, onion. I feel like I'm missing something. Yeah, like filthy, dirty bulk.
I want to tell you about the KFC I had on Saturday night. Then.
Did you have KFC?
Dude, I haven't had KFC in ages. And let me tell you, it was delicious.
It was amazing.
It was seriously good.
I'm not surprised.
Oh my God. Anyway.
What caused you to go down that path? Open up.
Well, I had a mate's going away. And we're at another mate's cricket. And by this point, we were sitting in the sun. We already had a couple. So it was like, what are we going to get for dinner? And we were tossing up between Domino's, McDonald's, and KFC. And KFC won out. I tried to be as good as possible. So I just went down the chicken. Like, I didn't get heaps and heaps of carbs. I had a zinger burger. And then I got some extra original recipe. And the
potato and gravy. And
I didn't eat the potato and gravy. The chips were amazing. Let me just tell you that. I didn't eat the potato and gravy though.
KFC chips are unreal.
Because I'm not a complete barbarian. And I didn't want to fully blow out, you know. But the zinger burger, the 6 pieces of original recipe, and the large chips definitely kept me under. Well, and I got a water. So it's like, that just cancels it out, you know.
Help the process on the way down. Yeah,
exactly.
Love it.
Yeah,
unreal.
Exactly. And I just tried to chew it as little as possible, so it would just go down in as a whole, and I would absorb as little as possible. No, that's not true, but it was seriously good.
Fried chicken is a kryptonite though. I love me some fried chicken. Have you been to Nola at East End?
No.
Oh man, they've got some unreal fried chicken. Literally just right next to Mother Vine. Shout out to them. I mean, if they're listening, more than happy to eat fried chicken on the potty if you want to send some our way. Actually,
just like from there.
Oh, it would actually be cool.
Right at the front.
Yeah, like a craft beer and whiskey bar. Real Southwest or Southern and American fried chicken style. Yeah,
man, the combo for me is fried chicken and waffles with maple syrup.
Yeah, that's a good time.
And bacon.
Yeah. No, there's a place.
That's it for me.
Can't remember what it's called. There's a place in Freo in Perth that do this. Yeah, exactly that. Fried chicken waffles,
dude.
And not like dirty American ones. Like it's like almost a brunch spot kind of thing. It's just like, yeah, that's got some really good. Oh, there's a place. Yeah, what's the name of the place?
It's called The Lab.
Nah, I don't know about. I haven't been there. Where's that?
Paynham,
I believe. Okay,
which is like pretty close to the gym. Yeah, we should definitely go there. They do real good chicken and waffles. Very good. And cream as well. I think Jetty Road Brighton, potentially.
Sorry, I missed that.
Cream, Jetty Road Brighton, I believe.
No. Oh, cream, yeah. Yep, I've been there.
Yeah. That's a good coffee spot too.
Have you been to Whistle and Flute?
Yep.
Yeah, they do like fried fried chicken on, I think it's on pancake. That is probably, I need to go back there.
That's not plants and animals. Well, it's mostly, it's a mix. I mean, if you go back far enough in the process of creating the pancakes,
at some
flour is a plant.
There were plants and animals involved.
Milk, animal product.
Yeah, for sure. But
you mentioned, man, we went down a tangent just then, but about 40 minutes ago when we first started, you mentioned their self-reflection, which is kind of the topic of the conversation for today. It's something that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
I've just seen a common theme in people in general. I was at a wedding a couple of weeks ago when I first got out from last week, when I first got out from COVID, and just like talking with people about the difference between people that have the ability to introspectively think, like look inwards at their own faults and where they excel. It gives them that extra layer of awareness, that extra layer of self-awareness, which is, for me, it's like unprecedented. It's unrivaled. I think the ability to have that, and the benefit of being able to look inwards and see your own faults and what you excel at is such an easy way to grow without really any external help. Like, I don't have to ask you, although I could, what am I good at and what am I not good at? Essentially, like that's the bare bones of it. I can kind of, if I have the ability to, I can look inwards at what I'm doing, and let's place this. Let's put this in context somehow. So let's say you're a fitness coach, or you're a PT, or you're a business owner. Can you look inwards at where your business excels? Your people skills, your like the technical side of things. Let's get down the road of like fitness coach, because that's what I do the most. And you could understand that as well. You look inwards to your ability to coach like movement patterns, your ability to build rapport and develop relationships with clients, the ability to, I call it placing, like placing this session in the week and that week in the broader spectrum, the mesocycle, and that mesocycle in the macro cycle. And you kind of place
use those words.
This one session, it's a little esoteric, but this one session, where does it fit in this like broad spectrum? Because that's going to help with people's motivation. They know what they're training for. It'll help with the desired outcome, the stimulus that they're going to get out of the session. If you've done that, it kind of comes back from that point. There's so many things you could potentially think about. And the ability to not only see where you go wrong, but where you go right as well. I think both of those things are equally as important. Obviously, you want to work on your weaknesses, but it's also important that you give yourself some of that affirmation that, hey, I am actually doing some stuff really, really well. And it might be you compared to yourself 6 months ago, or it could be you to your peers. Like, what are you bringing to the table compared to like other people that work in the same environment? Because the goal is, I think, especially in owning a gym, is to have everyone bringing each other up. Everyone has their own things that they excel at. So ideally, everyone can bring those things to the table. Like, they must have learned that from somewhere. That I've had coaches that excel at like building rapport, and they can really, really effectively communicate. And then I've had other coaches that really struggle with that, but technically they're amazing. Like they can break down movement patterns extremely well, but maybe getting the message across is not as effective. And I've had other people that are like really, really good on the phone, but their technique stuff is not as proficient or prolific. There's so many examples of this. And I think the ability to identify those within yourself, that is like the starting point of personal growth, I think. So for me, I had them written down. I'm going to get mine up, but I want you to talk about yours first. What do you think sorry to put you on the spot here, but I know that you have the ability to do this because we've talked about this a lot, and you're the type of dude that has the ability to, and you can kind of tell, like I said at the very start, you can kind of tell people that can and can't. And I know that you have the ability to look inwards like this, and we've done this before, and we've talked about this before, but what do you think you are really good at? Maybe a couple of things, 3 things.
Organization would definitely be. I'm very organized. And I think that this is hilarious. I had a teacher in year 4 called Mrs. Rob, and I just moved. We used to live in, I'm not going to call it country, but south of Perth. when I was in year 3 and year 2, and we moved back up to Perth. And I had Mrs. Rob, and I came in partway through the year, and she told me that I was one of the most disorganized individuals that she'd ever met. And saying that to like an 8-9-year-old, you just like,
cop for that.
Like, all right. I literally was just like, fuck, that's weird. Like,
What do you have to organize at 8 or 9?
Do you know what's hilarious though? Like, I just visualized it as my desk wasn't organized, like for some reason. And I feel this is hilarious. So I remember going to, because I don't know about, this is semi off topic, and I'm going down tangents today. I don't know what it is. But in primary school, you need to bring, every student needed to bring like a tissue box to school as part of like what you had, like part of the you know, you got to order the certain things for the kids. I can't remember what that's called. Anyway,
a fundraiser or something.
No, like at the start of the year, like these are the things you need, like a class list or almost like a, whatever. One of the things was a tissue box. And so I went to take 2 tissues. She's like, "What do you need 2 tissues?" And I was like, "I don't know, I've always used 2 tissues." And she was like, "You can just use one." And I'm like, "What do you want me to do with this second tissue? Like, put it back." Like, what if my blowing of my nose just goes so firm through this first one because someone's bought a cheap tissue and it's sandpaper? You're going to cop it, Mrs. Rob. I didn't say that. I thought it. Anyway, back to the organisation. She told me that I wasn't very organised. So I think ever since then, that's really hit home. And clearly it has, because I've got a dartboard with her head. No, I don't. But I'm definitely organised. Like, I have a whiteboard next to my desk every day that I use, and my desk is always very organised. I don't like organised chaos. Is not how I live. My bedroom is not bed not made and clothes not away as soon as I leave the room every day. It's messy. So I'm very organised. I would say time management. That's something I've worked on with the company that I currently am employed by. They transitioning through roles within the company has had its challenges, and so I definitely was one of the things that I researched and just like, cool, this is on me. I need to be more organized with my time because I want to make sure that I can, do the job to the best of my ability and effectively. So going out of my way, out of work to kind of research time management, make sure that that's one of the aspects of my life and day and whatever that I bring to this occupation. I can kind of tick that off and go, cool, I know that I can mentally, I'm very good at checking in and checking out. Like I can switch off from something pretty easily. Not many things get to me. Things definitely do get to me, but when they do, they hit pretty hard and it's hard for me to switch off. But I'm pretty good at just going, cool, I'm so organized with my time management. So organized physically and for my day, and my time management is very like, I'm not going to give this task more than X amount of time. The third thing I'm really good at, following a plan, maybe. Really good at just creating systems, I'll say, creating a plan and then following it. So pretty good at being able to break down, getting to an end and then breaking down exactly what it is, and then hopefully delivering that to someone and going, cool, if you follow this plan, you should be able to get to here as well, like verbatim. So that sounds very boring for probably those listening. Great. He's very organized. His time management's great and he can create plans.
That's literally your job though.
That's literally what I do for a living.
Yeah. And you don't have the luxury of going into the place, creating, you don't have a 9-to-5 job. Like you're not going into an office building or into the gym and like having an office where you have to be there by X time in the morning and you can leave it. Exactly. So you have to be able to create those plans and stick to them. Otherwise, like if I had your job, nothing would get done. I would be it's a skill. Like, terrible.
It's definitely a skill. It's not something that just like people have. And that's something I've definitely learned in the last year and a half. Just even within the team that I look after as well. It's like, there's some assumed knowledge there and you should obviously never assume, but like there are a lot of the things that I'm good at now that I've gone out and learned on myself. It's not a case of someone put the work and the time into me. Like I don't do courses or anything like that. I just self-learn and learn by doing and learn through experience. And sometimes that takes time, but you can definitely, do life short courses, essentially. Like, cool, I need to make sure that I get this right by next week. And if I don't, then it's not just me that's going to struggle. It's the business of people above me and the people below me. And that's not fun to have on your conscience for me personally anyway. So they're 3 things I'm good at. And I have a feeling you're going to ask me the next 3.
Actually, hang on, before I ask that, speaking of assumed knowledge, we're kind of assuming that people know what you do for a job. I think that's important just to like give this some context.
I don't know how to explain what I do. I look after the operations of gyms in Western Australia. So when it comes to ensuring client experience is paramount, ensuring the systems are being adhered to, systems are being created, making sure that feedback is being received both from clients and coaches and being given. Yeah, I don't know. Is that a job? That's probably what I do.
I mean,
yeah,
you do it.
Kind of what I do. I look after the team.
Yeah.
I try and look after the team and ensure that they have the skill set and the knowledge and the ability to basically fulfill what we are delivering on from a sales and fulfillment aspect, I guess. So they need to ensure that what we sell, they can do. And I need to keep them to that standard and set expectations accordingly, train and educate, recruit. Anything from floor coaching, like what you do, as all the way through to nutrition coaching, accountability systems, long-term one-on-one coaching between client and coach. So I don't do any client interactions, but I train the coaches in that skill set.
Nice. Okay, yeah. That's good. That's good. That gives us some context so people can kind of like figure out.
People are probably wondering,
it's a very rear-facing job. There is I think that's important because we're forever increasing our listeners.
Of course.
So it's important that we give them some context to that without them having to go back
fair.
through step one. Very rear-facing job. So lots and lots of behind the scenes stuff. So it makes a lot of sense that those are your strengths. It's a lot of scheduling and being well structured. Because that would be very important.
To be all things to all people a little bit, like not to sound overwhelming, but like in any sort of management or leadership position, there's no one right way to lead or manage a team. There's no one right way to lead or manage an individual. So the way you interact with one person is going to be completely different from the way you interact with another person, because they learn and grow and are at different stages of their career, and they all absorb information differently. So for one person, you might need to be really hands-on, but for the other person, it might be cool, set and forget. And then the language you use with them is different. Expectations you set might be slightly different wording, because some people need to be a little bit more direct and some people need to be a little bit more passive. So again, that's learning by doing. I know that there's so much variety there, but the application of it, it's like, cool, how do I quickly assess that Luke, who is an employee of mine, Luke and I actually have two Lukes that work for me. I'm not referencing them. I'm using you as an example. How does he learn? How do I can give him? What's the best way to give him feedback? What's the best way for me to upskill him as quick as possible to the level where he needs to be, and then continue to grow him from there? As long and all the while ensure that there's respect there and trust and all those sorts of things. So, and you're going to be completely different to say, I don't know who else say I'm managing Ryan, the crypto person, very different personalities. Sure. So yeah, it's just that sort of stuff. You know that they're different, but how do you actually apply the knowledge?
That's tough. That's a minefield. And 3 things you think that you need to work on?
Creativity. I'm not very creative. I like my spreadsheets. I like my X's and my O's and my ones and my zeros. So creativity is something I definitely struggle with. Something I struggle with. I'd say that ensuring sometimes I can be reactive and I hate it. I hate being reactive in certain stance and certain instances, which is quite good being semi-remote, because you can kind of like, cool, don't need to react to that sort of to things. So I'd say I've gotten better at that, definitely. So I'll actually put that under patience. I won't put that reactive. I'll put that under patience. I'm not a very patient individual. What was the first one? Memory's my last one. I got a terrible memory. Creativity,
memory and patience.
Yeah, my memory. Again, memory's bad, which is why I take so many notes, and I take I need organization, because I could have done something last week and say, I don't remember doing that, and it's an experience that I've forgotten or whatever. So memory's pretty poor. But I have heard that once you hit over 27, everything's downhill. So I reckon I'm on the fast track.
I'm 3 months in. I can actually sense that. Well, I didn't have COVID.
Oh, the posties around.
I didn't have COVID when I was 26 or prior. So
true.
Yeah,
they would be my three areas I think I need to work on. I don't know how memory you work on that, except for literally just application and note taking, which I kind of do. Patience is one I've definitely improved upon. I think if you ask anyone that's known me from 10 years old upwards, they would say, yeah, I'm not very patient. Actually, I'm going to change memory. I get bored. I'm very much someone that needs stimulation often. And like even just from education, I watch a lot of sport, or I don't really watch that many shows, but I need to be doing something always. I struggle to stop. And that's sometimes a good thing when it comes to, say, progression and learning and education, but it can be overwhelming when you're like, I literally lie down on the couch for 10 minutes and I'll get bored and I'll have to like, cool, what could I be doing this time? So the ability to slow down and stop is not something that I have mastered, which is beneficial, having a partner that is mastered that really well and being very kind to herself in that regard. So having that balance and just seeing and being, and, you know, living with someone that has that ability, just like, I'm going to do these things for me rather than for me now, right in this moment, rather than for future me, which is what I have a big drive towards, but you never meet your future self. So yeah, that would be my three: creativity, patience, and not being able to stop. I don't know how you simplify that to a word.
Yeah. How often do you do that? Very often? Or is this just kind of one of the first times?
Do what? Stop?
Sorry, introspectively, like look at yourself objectively and think, okay, how have I been going? Have I been tracking? You know, is my trajectory, my current trajectory right now of how I am as a human in all my traits and all my personality traits, is
Weekly.
this the what? Yeah, that's good. That's very frequent.
Yeah, I would reflect on where I'm at currently very often. I'm very I wouldn't say I'm super self-aware. I'm very, very self-reflecting.
You don't think you're self-aware?
Not very. I'd say I think I'm relatively self-aware, but I wouldn't put myself. I know some extremely self-aware individuals, which is just really cool to witness. And I wouldn't categorize myself in that pool. But yeah, I definitely self-reflect and just go, cool, where am I at? How am I doing? Because as similar to you, I don't necessarily have extremely lofty expectations of myself. I wouldn't use those words, but I do have expectations of myself. And so when either you miss them or you exceed them or whatever, it's like, cool, did I undershoot the target? Did I overshoot the target? Is the target realistic? Where am I at relative to where I was a week ago, 6 months ago? Am I getting closer?
I've got massive expectations. I'm not like, I seriously, my expectations of myself are dire. I put everything on the line in pretty much everything.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say I self-reflect often.
Yeah. That's good. That's an important skill. And sometimes, and you can actually get more efficient at it. You don't have to necessarily like sit down and write these things out. You can just check in. Yeah. The more that you do it, the less you have to do it.
I think sometimes
it's like, okay.
Yeah. For me, I don't do it as a moment of conscious, like, cool, am I going to allow this time to self-reflect? It's more like there's been a catalyst and that causes me to self-reflect. So something's happened, or it's, and this is probably a good identification. It's possibly not always a positive catalyst in terms of like, I feel like I'm off track. Where am I at? Or like, this happened. You should be here by now, or whatever that is. That sort of self-talk, which is an ideal. It should more be, say, you know, that didn't even make sense. It should more so be a conscious like self-reflection, like, cool, it's the second Tuesday of the month. How am I traveling along with where I need to be for where I want to go? That would be a more positive way to do self-reflection. I wouldn't say I'm there.
Sure. I don't think it's, I mean, this is kind of coming back to the conversation we had maybe a few weeks ago of finding the silver lining out of like negative things that happen. And if that's the catalyst to some self-reflective time, then great. Like, make the most of that. What was this breakdown in communication, or this, you know?
Yeah,
whatever.
I would agree. I don't know. I would say it's important to do it in those moments, but I would say it's also important to do it as a simple task.
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely not one or the other.
Yeah.
But I think if you've had that breakdown and you're like, oh, I haven't had any self-reflective time for a little while, maybe that's actually the reason why this confrontation has come up, because I haven't checked in on myself for a little while to see what trajectory I'm on in my own personal traits. It's like the stuff that you're surrounded by constantly, you kind of become it, or at least it changes how you react to stuff. So if you're surrounded by people that are negative, in their mindset, whether that be like victim mentality or pessimistic or nihilistic or like, there's kind of like associated with negative or negativity, you often will become that without even thinking about it. Even if it's just like 1% a day and you just slowly change over time. And then 3 months down the track, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I've been having these kinds of thoughts, because you've just been surrounded by it constantly. It's so hard to break that if you're surrounded by it all the time. But I think a really good way of doing that is actually checking in on yourself really frequently and saying or thinking, okay, I've been surrounded by these types of people and there's no way I could remove myself from them without like quitting my job or whatever. And that's fine because they are like that for a reason. That's fine. But where do I want to be in relation to, this company or this job or this business or whatever? And and looking inwards in that. So you don't become what you hate, because you're often like drawn towards that negativity for whatever reason. It like scratches a weird itch. Like that's why news articles, the negative ones, get heaps and heaps of clicks, because like humans just like are drawn to that kind of stuff, like moth to a lamp. So I think it's really important. That's one of the most important skills that I learned in my old job when I was teaching the PT qualification. Was I didn't take it that seriously at the time, but now looking back and reflecting on it, I can see how beneficial it was to learn the skill of self-analysis and just how important it can be for your growth. Yeah, and definitely. Like I said at the very start, it doesn't necessarily have to be, it's not something that you have to check with someone else. If you have a good objective thought about yourself, then great. Like that's often going to be true. It does help if you get feedback from someone else. Like I ask you, what are 3 things that I do well and what are 3 things I don't do well? Hopefully the list is pretty similar, but maybe it's not. Maybe you see stuff that your perception of me is different to how I perceive myself. Or maybe I'm putting a bigger emphasis on different stuff because my role is more forward facing. It's all about coaching and building rapport and that kind of stuff. A lot of my thought goes towards those things. But then maybe you see traits in me that are like disorganized or unhygienic or, other traits that I would like I would potentially not think about. So I think it's important that you have the peers around you to be able to do both. You think objectively in yourself, but then you also have the trust, I guess, to be able to ask others around you to give you that like not self-analysis, but that critical analysis.
I think it's relative to like what you're trying to accomplish as well. Like you say, it's important. Like, I'm curious to hear what your 3 and 3 are, to be honest, but it's like, what are you trying to accomplish with the time that you have, which, as we said, like relative to the goals that we shared at the back end of last year, start of this year, and, have they changed or whatever that is. And then it's a case of you might be going, oh, I'm really good at this and this and this, and I'm really bad at this and this. And it's like, cool. How are they going according to what you're trying to accomplish? And if you've got someone that can check you in there. So like for me, I'm organized. I can't remember the 3 things. Memory's shocking. Organized, time management, and one other thing. It's like, I'll know like if I'm slipping on one of those, because my day will be a shambles. I won't get tasks done. Yeah. So therefore, relative to my goals, I'm kicking goals according to my goals, because I've been like, because of my organization, my time management, I'm meeting every training session and blah, blah, blah. Creativity, it's not relevant to my goal. So I'm not bothered by that. Memory, I can't remember what the other 2 were. I'm sorry. But like, if someone that you have as a mentor or in your circle, as you refer to it, like if they can check in and go, cool, and you have the humbleness to ask them, I think these are 3 things I do really well, and these are 3 things I need to work on. What do you think? It's like, well, relative to your goals, I think these are 3 areas you might need to work on, and this is what you're doing well in that regards.
You definitely have to give them some context. That's important to know 100%. As well. Like, because I could tell you my 3 or 6 things, 3 good, 3 bad, but it's relative to me as a coach, because we did it as like we did it this morning as like a coach's drill, I suppose.
You could do it outside of that, in a relationship. What about in friendships? What about exactly.
Completely different. So it's important that you plot each of these, or at least give them some context.
Yeah.
As you said, there's like relationships and friendships, and as an employee, as an employer, as a business owner, as whatever, an acquaintance. Yeah. It's important that you give them some context as well. Otherwise, like the list could be, you could have 15 things in each category of good and bad. It's all just completely relative to what we're actually talking about. So mine will be really out of context for the sake of this conversation. But I guess just like kind of thinking about it, if I put myself on the spot like I did to you, I'm extremely driven, and I'm highly motivated. When I'm on, I'm on.
Mhm.
But then I can also, I'm just going to kind of like throw these out, positive and negative, in like a bit of a mix, I suppose. So when I'm on, I'm on. Like I think that my drive is very, very fast.
Yeah.
I'm like hyper driven.
Yep.
I have like really, really high expectations of myself, which can be a good or a bad thing. But I think aiming so high, and not necessarily so far in the future, but definitely just aiming high in like kind of a moderate length time, like 5 years or 8 years. It really, you have to do stuff. You can't just like sit around. It's not like I'm planning for 25 years in the future and anything can happen in 25 years.
Yeah, for sure.
Where it's like you don't necessarily have that same level of motivation
Yeah.
to do stuff. Whereas because it's like 3 to 5 years in the future, it's like, okay, shit, I actually have to do stuff now. Because 6 months roll by like that. Suddenly you've only got 2.5 years until that end point. Now it's like, oh man, I haven't achieved anything. And it's like, a sixth of the time has gone past. It's like 15% of the time. It's just like, it just flies by. So I'm hyper driven. What I think falls relative to that is, again, probably as you said, but for me, it's a little bit different. My patience.
Yeah.
I'm like very emotional, I suppose, and rash, and I make very quick decisions. And I think I'm quite stubborn as well when I make those decisions. So it's like, okay, my mind's been made up, and that's it.
Yeah.
Which again can be good, can be bad. Can be good in the way that you make decisions quickly, so you don't have to waste time like pondering. But then it's also like, what if I had waited and maybe assessed all the nuance to this problem? I maybe could have made a better decision. So that can be good or bad. I think relationships and like building rapport, I think that's one of my strengths. I think I can relate most conversations to the person that I'm talking to. Some people it's hard work, other people it's really easy. But I think that's an important skill, especially with such a forward-facing role of owning a gym and coaching. That's a really important skill to have. And then maybe another negative one is my time management's pretty poor. So when I've got these big goals and these massive expectations of myself, and I maybe know where I'm at right now, and I know where I want to be, but I don't necessarily know. I don't have the map in front of me. Like I don't know which direction to take. I've got a little idea.
Time management or planning?
It's probably more so planning, because I've got this order of things and maybe I don't necessarily have the right order in which I'm going to do them. So like I know I have these 5 things I have to tick off. So for me, it could be like opening 2 more gyms or 3 more gyms. It's like, okay, what's the order in which we have to do this? Is it like there's so many things. It could be like raising funds, finding teams, finding a location, like looking at like lease amounts, having current businesses doing well so they can finance it. It's like, where do you spend your time? So I think maybe planning for me is something that needs the work, has some work done to it as well. I'm very emotional, but I lack a lot of empathy, I think. And I think, I don't know whether it's because I'm like hyper emotional. I'm like, oh, I just don't have the time for this. And I like really struggle with that. So I'm working on being more of an empath. I used to be a very big empath. I'm still a people person, but any kind of like massive flux in emotional state for me, it's just like, oh, I can't deal with this right now. I have to just switch off and just worry about me. So that would be mine, I think, kind of in a jumbled list.
Yeah. So can you clearly define the 3 and 3?
Say again?
So just clearly mention what are your 3 things you're good at, and what are 3 things you think you need to work
on? 3 things I'm good at are building rapport, communication, my motivation and drive, and not my memory.
I think you only said 2.
Yeah. Not sure. And then the three bad things, I need to work on my empathy, my planning, and
Your stubbornness.
I'm stubborn, very stubborn.
Yeah.
It's an important list. Yeah. It's a good list of things as well. I think they're big things, and maybe you can work on it yourself, or maybe I can work on it myself, or maybe it's just going to take some time with dealing with people that are a bit different, to me. Maybe that's going to help that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe once you see, they're not like, you're never always going to be good at all things, I think, as well. Like, I'm not really bothered. Like, well, it does annoy me that I'm not creative. I'd love to be creative, but I'm not going out trying to do any things to help my creative brain.
Right.
You know, I'm not like trying to engage in, I don't know, various other ways to think of things. I'm very logical. I'm a very logical person. So I follow a pathway to get somewhere. But like, well, if we come at it creatively, I can't get that.
Yeah.
So I'm not like, it's annoying when I want to be creative, but like, I don't have that often. Whereas maybe like when you say, referencing some of yours, maybe the empathy, it's something you deal with on a daily. So it's like, cool, it's actually something you possibly need to work on. Is that kind of what you're identifying?
I think if it's in like a fitness context, like if someone's like, if it's a movement relative to a movement, I can't do this because of this. I've hurt my back, so I can't do this, or this hurts.
Yeah.
Like I think I'm really good with dealing with that. But then if it's something that I don't deem as like a necessary emotion, then that like pisses me off. If someone's upset for a reason that I like don't deem as necessary, then it will annoy me.
Yeah, I get that.
Which sounds tragic, but that's just me being like completely honest, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, it's just like blunt. It's like, okay, I understand that gets to you, but it's not getting to me, so I'm going to move on.
I swear I'm not an asshole. It makes me sound like such an asshole.
No, not at all. Like, just different people are in different. You can be too much of an empath, and you just allow people to get away with too much emotion. And at some point, you need to draw a line in the sand, and you need some. You know, I definitely think there's a time and a place definitely want of a better term, like wallow in X that's happened to person or because of person or whatever. Yeah. But I definitely know that, okay, cool. I have the mentality, you can't change it, so move on. If you can change it, no need to worry about it because you can change it, so move on. Like, I'm very pragmatic in that sense. And that doesn't help in some of my friendships, workplace relationships and that sort of stuff. Because it's like, I move on pretty quickly, but I get it from a client interaction standpoint. It's like, cool, you need to, there's a way to communicate to an individual. And that's part of what the you get paid for, I guess.
Do you have any pet peeves?
Pet peeves?
Yeah, yes. Something that
people that don't stack the dishwasher correctly, people that don't fold their clothes correctly. Those sorts of things are my pet peeves. As you can tell, I'm definitely a little bit OCD.
I did not really expect anything different.
Not in I can't think of a pet peeve. Maybe a family member's screaming at their radio now, saying, "Oh yeah, there's this," but not that I can think of. Yeah, I don't. One thing that does get to me is, don't say you're going to do something and then don't do it.
Right.
That really, really gets to me from any standpoint, friendships, workplace, whatever. Like, don't say, "Oh yeah, I can do that," and then it's like, cool, check in. I didn't get around to it. Oh, why? Because I was busy or whatever. Like, so why don't you just tell me that? Like, I have no issues if you can't do it, but don't say you're going to do it and then don't do it.
Yeah, I'm petrified of doing that. But I think I do that because I'm like, I mean, if you want to expand on that, then yeah, I'm super impulsive. So it's like, but I want to do all things for everyone as well. And then because my memory's not that good, I say yes, and then I just forget. And it's like, it's a bad mix of things.
It gets to me more in a workplace than friendship place, but like,
okay, good.
So you're all good. But it's more like, especially from my position and my role, it's like, I'm here to help people and here to help them grow. And I ask, like, do you need help with it? What can I do? No, you can do it. Amazing. And then if it's a really important task that doesn't get accomplished, and it's like, in a work environment, it's like, well, why did you say you could do it? Oh, well, this popped up and that popped up. So why didn't you reach out?
I feel that's a bit different.
Like, yeah. So that's if 100% a pet peeve.
Yeah.
That's just like, I could flip some tables, the amount of times that happened. So again, looking inward, what could I be doing to make sure that doesn't happen? And I have done that, and it happens less and less now, which is great. But No, not really. Apart from literally, Zoe will not fold my clothes, nor will she stack dishwashers anymore. So I'm not. I
Actually,
hope I'm not throwing her under the bus, and she's never coming home. But no, just there's a logical way to do things. I just do it that way.
Yeah. I think the other thing, as you just mentioned, like really briefly, just like spark something in my brain again, about if you have asked someone to do a task and they say yes, and then it doesn't get done for whatever reason, and you just like very like briefly kind of went down that route of extreme ownership. It's like, okay, let me turn this into a self-reflective exercise here.
Yeah.
Maybe it was my delivery in the question. Maybe I didn't put enough emphasis on it, like how important this was.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe I didn't like go over and above in helping them schedule this in their day, you know, irrelative to whether you really need to or not. It's like, okay, I understand that Luke is not, he's the kind of guy to say yes to something and then not follow through with it. So in knowing that, and this is maybe some advice to you when dealing with me, is I'm going to ask you to do
expectations and checkpoints.
Exactly. So I know that Luke is going to say yes to this, but then the follow through might not be.
Well, I'm still waiting for that ribeye that you were going to bring around last week or whatever it was.
Dude, I got COVID, bro. What do you want me to do? I mean,
I'll take a COVID ribeye for sure.
COVID infected.
But
maybe that's anyway, this is like it's a very specific example, but it can be applied to anything. It's like, okay, what could I have done better to facilitate them in finalizing this task, getting this thing done?
Yeah.
Whether that be like something in your relationship or whether that be something in your workplace. It's like, if you have to delegate a job to someone else and that doesn't get done, almost treat everything that happens to you as your fault and how you could have potentially changed the course of fate to not have it go down that route. Really anything negative. Like if someone rear ends you, it's like, okay, there's nothing I could have really done about that besides not being on the road. But how are you ever going to have today? Yeah, it's like there's some things that obviously you can't control, and you can't control what you can't control, obviously. But the thing is that you have any little scrape of control over, you should do everything that you can in order to turn that into a positive experience.
Yeah, I'm just a big fan of seeing trends. So if you see something happen more than once, it's probably something that you can have control over. So if that's happened more than once, it's like, okay, cool. It's probably not them, it's me. Like, how can I deliver this more? Am I making myself available for feedback? Am I reaching out for help? Again, going back to what I said, however long ago, it's like you might need to manage and monitor that personality slightly different to someone else. You can go, hey, I need to do this. Can you do it? Yes, I can. Great. It gets done. You go, hey, I need to do this. Can you do it? Yes, I can. Doesn't get done. Doesn't get done again. Okay, cool. That's on me. Like once bitten, twice shy, that whole adage. It's like first time it's like, why didn't I do it? Well, X, Y, and Z. If I go down the same route again and ask the same way of the same person and it still doesn't get done, well, I haven't learned anything either. So
regardless if it is your fault or not, I think that it's an important mindset to have because everything comes back to you then.
Yeah.
And then at least you know that you've done everything in your power and your control to have that thing done. Again, whatever 100%. It is, it doesn't have to, we're kind of talking like as employers and people that have, I guess, like say over what people do, I suppose. It'd be different if you're an employee, but you're dealing with people and
there's always someone you impact and there's always someone that impacts you. So regardless of position, friendships, relationships, footy mates, whatever. It's like, yeah, cool. Interaction with the coach. Maybe I should have handled that a bit differently. And, a perfect example. And this is one of my patience things coming to the fore. Like just being able to elicit a feedback loop and it not be in a certain forum. So, asking for feedback in a public forum. And then when that feedback comes through in a public forum, that probably should have been a private forum. Well, it's not that person's fault for giving the feedback in a public forum. That's where you ask for it. Right. Regardless of how, what you think they should know. So that's something recently that happened. It's like, oh yeah, cool. The feedback, there's nothing wrong with the feedback. Annoyed that it's in a public forum, but that's where I asked for it. So
that's on you.
Can't blame them. That's on me. 100%.
It's hard, man. And it's hard to cop that as well, because I mean, we were talking about egos last week with Cameron and man, that there's nothing that hits the ego more than that, where it's like, okay, this is something you look at it after the fact and you're like, fuck, like, why did I even ask it in this particular way or in this place, knowing that it's very likely going to come back. And if there's anything that isn't positive to say, then everyone's going to see it.
Yeah.
Or everyone's going to hear it. It's like, shit.
Different outcomes.
I should not have done that.
Trying to create a culture of, being able to give feedback and that sort of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to cop. Yeah. Receiving feedback, giving feedback is hard. Receiving feedback that is constructive is tough.
I think it's got to be, it's a skill, like with anything behavioral, it's a skill. It's not something that you're going to get good at just because it happened once. So completely agree.
Yeah. So there's two big takeaways, I think. And I don't want to turn this into one of those things where it's like, all right, and your homework for the week is, but I think it's really important.
But here's your homework.
There's a big but there. I think it's important. If you haven't done this exercise before, I think it's really important that you do. And maybe send them through to us on Instagram or Facebook or something, and give it some context. And I'm talking about those 3 things that you excel at and those 3 things you need to work on. Give it some actual thought. It won't take too long. It could take hours. You could really spend forever on this thing and really go deep. But generally, if it's the 3 things that come to mind first, or 3 out of the 5 things that first pop up in your mind, then generally that's a pretty good inkling. Run with that. I'd be interested to see what people come up with and if there's any common threads. I think that given where we're at technologically, most people are working from behind a computer screen now. So it could be like building relationships in face-to-face communication or something like that. I reckon I would see a little bit of that. I think, the feedback thing is pretty tough. I think a lot of people will struggle to receive feedback and not like get emotional about it. And get their back up about it. So that might be another one. Do you see any that you would expect to see from people?
Oh, no, not straight off the top of my head. I think everyone's going through a different journey and there's so many different demographics that we might hit. So curious. I think it's just whether you want to share them or not, like just, do the practice, and it'd be cool if you do want to share them, but if not, just like if you do the practice, you've learned something. So for
sure. Yeah, I'm keen to hear about that actually, because it's a skill that not everyone does, but you can really tell the difference. And the level of self-growth is pretty amazing. Yeah, something that I've been practicing for a little while now, and I think it's really important that most people do it. Look inwards. Nice. Closing thoughts, Mr. Tom, Mr. Young Tom.
Mr. Young Tom, I'll take it. Well, for those that can see what I'm doing on YouTube, it's not very exciting, but I just want to say thank you for tuning in on YouTube. If you had a few people like and comment on the most recent episode, so appreciate that. Definitely self-reflecting on how we present on the YouTube now that we can't just be shirtless and naked all the time.
True. At least from the waist up. I'm wearing a tuxedo top right now, and and footy shorts.
I'm not standing up. Hey, I'm definitely not standing up. I just want to appreciate everyone that's giving us their ears and their eyes. So thank you. Looking forward to having another guest on next week, which we're just finalizing the details on. So that'll be really cool. But if you guys have any topics that you are intrigued to learn more about, or people that you might think are interesting to pick their brains on, let us know. Reach out. But otherwise,
before we go anywhere, next week I've just got confirmation.
We do.
Just come through.
Amazing.
We have young Ruby Fagan Schmidt coming along, who is a mentor for online marketing.
Yeah.
She's got her own business coaching and consulting business. She's actually launching her own podcast, which is very exciting as well. So being able to chat with her next week is going to be awesome. She's and not only is she this like gun business owner, she's a serious athlete as well. So I'm looking forward to hearing about her journey and what she's up to right now. She's a bit of a gun in this space. So looking forward to it.
Perfect. Well, until then, mate.
See you, mate.
Have a good week.